What would you sacrifice to keep an empire, your honor, your soul, or every last thread of your humanity? The city breathes in marble and gold, but its heart beats in shadows. Rome stands at its zenith, the empire stretching across continents, swallowing kingdoms whole. Yet beneath that illusion of glory, rot coils like a serpent. You can hear it in the laughter spilling from the villas of the powerful, low, velvety, dangerous. The kind of laughter that knows no law, because here in the capital, desire is the law. A crimson sunset bleeds over the Palatine Hill, washing statues in a light that feels more like blood than fire. Torches flare in corridors lined with ivory and silk. Slaves hurry past, their eyes nailed to the floor, bearing platters piled high with figs and honeyed wine. The scent is intoxicating. Cinnamon, myrrh, and something darker, something you can't quite name, like decay hidden under roses. This is the Rome they never show you on triumphal arches. This is the Rome where men kill with signatures and women with smiles, a city that prides itself on virtue even as it gorges on vice. Before we dive deeper, tell me in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is right now. Because time moves differently here, it drips, slow and heavy, like oil on marble. The Senate, oh, it still pretends to rule. Its marble steps are worn smooth by the sandals of old men clutching scrolls like weapons. They murmur in corners, voices sharp as daggers, each syllable a conspiracy. Behind their polished rhetoric, fear pulses, fear of one man, Claudius the emperor. But Claudius is not the tyrant Rome imagines. He is an enigma wrapped in trembling flesh, a scholar in a crown, stammering through decrees, his spine bent more from caution than age. He hides behind histories, behind Greek verses, as though words can shield him from the wolves that circle his throne. W. Wolves he calls family, and among those wolves, one name coils through the marble halls like incense smoke: Messalina. You've heard whispers, haven't you? Even now, centuries later, her name still drips from the lips of storytellers like honey laced with poison. Messalina, the Empress of lust, but here, in this moment, she is not yet legend. She is a shadow sharpening its teeth. Picture her standing behind a lattice of golden vines, watching, always watching, draped in silk so pale it seems to dissolve in candlelight, revealing more than it hides. Her eyes are not the soft eyes of a wife, they are instruments, measuring, weighing, calculating every weakness like a general studying the battlefield, and the battlefield is Rome. At night, when the torches burn low and the city sighs under the weight of its own sins, the true Rome awakens. Beyond the forum, in hidden courtyards perfumed with rosewater, bodies entwine beneath tapestries depicting virtue. There is no virtue here, only hunger. Hunger for power, for pleasure, for something nameless that claws at the bones when the wine runs dry. This is the air Messalina breathes, the air of forbidden feasts, of laughter muffled by silken cushions, of secrets whispered so close they feel like kisses. She does not simply survive in this world, she thrives. Because in Rome, survival belongs to those who dare more, crave more, take more. If this part unsettles you, hit like and share your thoughts below, because the truth only grows darker from here. Do you hear that? The click of sandals on polished stone, the rustle of scrolls, the hum of voices pretending civility while their words drip venom. These are the men who write laws by day and break them by night. They bow to Claudius with lips that smile and eyes that hate. And Claudius, poor Claudius, he believes their loyalty. He believes in Messalina too, believes her laughter is for him, her gaze warmed by love, not ambition. He does not see the iron beneath her velvet. He does not hear the music in her silence, the music of a plan taking shape. She plays the role perfectly, the dutiful wife, the tender mother, the ornament of an emperor. But ornaments can cut, and Messalina knows how to make beauty bleed. Step outside the palace gates for a moment. Listen. Rome does not sleep. The Subura roars with drunken voices, dice clattering on wooden boards, prostitutes painted in garish reds leaning from windows. The stench of sweat, smoke, and spilled wine slaps your senses raw. You feel the heat radiating from walls, the tremor of wheels rattling over cobblestones. Somewhere, a flute wails, a sound as thin and sad as a dying bird. This city is alive, but it is sick, and sickness breeds monsters. Back in the palace, another feast begins. Tables sag under the weight of roasted peacocks, bowls of oysters glistening like wet pearls, rivers of Falernian wine. Musicians pluck at strings, laughter spills like shattered glass. Claudius sits at the center, his crown gleaming, oblivious to the storm gathering inches from his throne. And there she is, Messalina, gliding through the chamber, her bare feet whispering over mosaic floors. Her bracelets sing with every gesture, soft as a serpent's hiss. She smiles, but it is not warmth, it is prophecy, the kind that promises ruin. You wonder, what drives a woman like her? Is it greed, desire, or something deeper, a hollow carved by power, so deep it can never be filled? Her gaze lingers on Claudius for a heartbeat, then slides past him, past everyone, into some private darkness only she can see. And in that darkness something is stirring. Rome thinks it knows scandal. It thinks it has tasted every sin. But it has never met hunger like this. Hunger that will one day strip emperors bare, that will drag the empire's name through filth and fire. Messalina's name, whispered now in the soft shadows behind golden columns, will soon be carved into history, not in letters, but in wounds. Anton. As the torches sputter and the feast grows loud, she lifts a cup to her lips and smiles. Because this is only the beginning. Don't forget to subscribe for more untold stories like this, because what comes next will leave you breathless. But empires do not breed monsters overnight. They begin as whispers in cradles, as dreams in the minds of children too young to understand the price of power. Messalina was no ordinary child. She was born into a world where marble floors burned with ambition and lullabies were sung in the language of conquest. Her cradle stood in the shadow of senators, men who spoke of laws as weapons and alliances as lifelines. Rome was her mother, but Rome was a cruel parent, teaching its daughters that beauty was not a blessing, but a blade. You imagine her as a little girl, curls shining like molten bronze under a Roman sun, running through gardens scented with roses and iron. Slaves trailed behind her like shadows, carrying her toys of ivory and gold. Every step she took was cushioned by wealth, yet every word she heard was edged with warning. Trust no one, not even your blood. This was the world that raised her, a world where laughter meant leverage and smiles hid daggers sharper than steel. From the beginning, Messalina understood that love was not free. It was a currency, traded like grain in the forum, counted and measured with precision. A father's embrace was warm but conditional. A mother's kiss tasted of expectation, not tenderness. Even as a child, she learned the subtle alchemy of survival, how to turn a glance into a favor, a tear into a weapon. By the time most girls were learning to sew, she was learning how to read the language of silence in a senator's eyes. By the time they dreamed of marriage, she dreamed of thrones. Rome's gardens were her classrooms, but they were not innocent. Imagine those sprawling courtyards alive, with marble statues of gods frozen in desire and fury. Beneath them, whispered conversations coiled, like serpents. She listened, always listening, while women in shimmering stolas spoke of their husbands' infidelities and their lovers' ambitions. And Messalina absorbed it all, the cadence of lies, the taste of secrets, the art of turning shame into triumph. Every vine curling along those columns held a lesson. In this empire, softness is a sin, and power the only virtue. There's an image that lingers, Messalina at 10 years old, standing in a colonnade as the sun dips low, staining the sky crimson. In her hand, a plucked rose, its petals bruised and bleeding colour. She presses its thorns into her palm, just enough to feel the sting. And she smiles, not from pain, but from the knowledge it brings. Beauty always cuts deeper than it seems. That was the day innocence died, though no one mourned it. Rome moulded her with expert cruelty. At banquets she learned to lower her lashes while listening to men speak of provinces like toys, of wives like livestock. She laughed when expected, danced when commanded, and spoke only when silence would cost her favour. Each gesture rehearsed, each word a calculation. But even then, beneath the silk and gold, there pulsed something darker, a hunger, the same hunger that fed the empire itself, a hunger that whispered, "Why be a pawn when you can rule the board?" Her beauty was a gift from the gods, or perhaps a curse. Men noticed too early. Slaves gossiped in kitchens about the little girl whose eyes could unmake resolve. She learned to wield that beauty like a dagger, unseen but deadly. A glance, a tilt of the head, a fleeting smile, these became her first weapons. Not of war, but of will. And Rome rewarded her for it. At 13, she was already present at dinners where men twice her age plotted futures drenched in blood and silk. She learned that in these chambers, flesh was currency and vows were smoke. She learned that virtue was a story told, to fools, while the wise wrote history with sin. If this unsettles you, share your thoughts below, because what comes next will make you question everything you thought you knew about power. Psychologists today might call it conditioning. They'd say she was a product of her environment, sculpted by a society where women survived by seduction and submission, or the illusion of both. But Messalina was not content to survive. Even as a child, she looked at Rome and thought, "This is not enough. I will not just live in its shadow. I will own it." And here's the truth that chills you. She believed it. She believed it with the calm certainty of destiny. There's a story, half legend, half truth, of a dinner when Messalina was barely 15. A senator, drunk on wine and arrogance, mocked her father for failing to secure a better marriage alliance. The hall erupted in laughter. Messalina sat silent, her face a mask of serenity. But beneath the table, her nails dug crescents into her palms. That senator, within months, he lost everything. land, wealth, and name, stripped bare by accusations whispered into the right ears. Some say it was coincidence, others say it was the first thread in Messalina's web. You decide. Don't forget to subscribe for more untold stories like this, because the secrets we've uncovered so far are nothing compared to what's coming. But here's the question that claws at you. Was Messalina a monster born or a monster made? Did Rome shape her, or did she shape Rome? The answer lies not in temples or scrolls, but in the choices she would make, the choices that would burn her name into eternity. And those choices begin with a marriage that was never about love, a marriage that would turn the world into a stage and her life into a weapon. The girl who learned to bleed without tears is now a woman, and Rome has chosen her stage. But was it truly Rome's choice, or hers? What would you sacrifice to hold an empire? Your heart, your freedom, or something far darker? You stand in the heart of Rome, where marble whispers secrets and the sky seems heavy with omens. The wedding is grand, dripping in gold and incense, yet the bride's smile hides storms. Messalina, no longer a child of intrigue but a woman of ambition, has done what many thought impossible. She has become the wife of an emperor. But this union was no accident, it was strategy. Claudius, Tiberius Claudius Caesar, Augustus Germanicus, was Rome's unexpected ruler. Once mocked for his limp and stammer, a man many believed better suited to libraries than legions. But fate, or perhaps chaos, thrust the laurel crown upon his brow after Caligula's bloody fall. Claudius, the scholar, the cautious bureaucrat, now held the keys to the empire. And Messalina? She saw more than an awkward man. She saw opportunity. Their first meeting is recorded in fragments of gossip and whispers. Imagine the hall of polished marble, the echo of sandals, the scent of oil lamps perfumed with frankincense. He looks at her, eyes hesitant, voice stammering like a river against rocks. He speaks of duty, of Rome's wounds that need healing. She lowers her lashes, the perfect image of modesty, but inside her thoughts burn. You are the door, and I will walk through you. Before we go deeper, tell me in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is right now. Claudius believed in order, in restoring dignity after Caligula's madness. His dreams were of laws and aqueducts, not lust and power. He wanted a partner in stability, and Messalina gave him exactly what he longed for, or at least the illusion of it. She played her role to perfection, the devoted wife, the tender mother to their children, the jewel of the imperial court. But behind the silks and smiles, her ambition grew wild as ivy, creeping into every crack of Rome's fragile order. Picture their evenings in the palace. Claudius, bent over scrolls, muttering in that broken rhythm, tracing treaties with ink-stained fingers. He speaks of grain supplies, of Senate decrees, of peace. And Messalina listens, or pretends to, while her mind drifts to darker feasts, not of bread, but of power. She imagines not the empire as it is, but as it could be, with her not as empress in name, but as queen in all but title. Because in her world, loyalty was theatre, and devotion a mask worn only until it bored her. The palace itself becomes a stage for deception. By day, she walks beside Claudius, serene as a goddess carved in marble. Senators bow, matrons whisper admiration. But when night falls, when the lamps burn low and Claudius sleeps heavy with wine and governance, another Rome awakens. A Rome Messalina rules with silken threads of seduction and sin. She surrounds herself with poets, actors, men whose beauty is as dangerous as their ambitions. Banquets that begin with music end in something far darker, hidden from imperial eyes. And every secret pleasure feeds her hunger for more. If this part unsettles you, hit like and share your thoughts below, because the next betrayal will chill you more than this. Claudius, poor Claudius, believed her gentle smiles, her soft words. He thought he had found loyalty in a city where daggers glimmered behind every curtain. He never imagined that the woman he cherished most would become the blade pressed to his throat. Was he blind, or did he choose blindness because truth was too heavy to bear? Psychologists might say Claudius craved stability after years of chaos, that Messalina became the illusion he needed, a sanctuary in silk. But illusions, as Rome would learn, are the deadliest poisons. There's a letter, preserved in fragments, where Claudius calls her his carissima uxoris, his dearest wife. He praises her modesty, her care for their children, her quiet grace. He never saw the cracks beneath the paint, the shadow behind the eyes. But you see them, don't you? You feel the tension like a string drawn taut, ready to snap. Because even now, Messalina is planning. Even now, beneath the golden ceilings, the first threads of treason are being spun. One evening, they walk the gardens together. The night air hums with the scent of lilies and the distant roar of the Colosseum. Claudius speaks of roads in Britannia, of laws to curb corruption. Messalina smiles, her arm brushing his. Her voice drips honey as she agrees, praises, promises. But her eyes are on the horizon, on a Rome that bends to her will alone. And in that moment, you realize Claudius is building an empire of stone. Messalina is building one of flesh and fear. Don't forget to subscribe for more untold stories like this, because the darkest page is about to turn. But what drove her? Was it greed, lust, or something colder? A need to control, to consume, to feel alive in a city that devoured the weak? Perhaps all of these, or perhaps none. Perhaps it was the simple truth she learned as a child in those cruel gardens. In Rome, survival is not enough. You must dominate or be destroyed. And so, while Claudius dreamed of law, she wove a web of desire and treachery so vast it would one day strangle the empire itself. But this was only the first chain. The second would pierce deeper, and soon she would bleed. Because even in her triumph, shadows stir. Men who smile too easily, women who whisper ooh softly, and somewhere fate sharpening its blade for the night when everything will shatter. He smiled at her across the table, gentle, trusting. But why? Why did it feel like death wore that smile? What would you do if the whispers about you could destroy an empire, hide, or make them louder? The air in the palace thickens like smoke after a pyre. It carries more than the scent of rose oil and wine. It carries rumors, tiny poisonous things slithering through corridors lined with marble and pride. At first they are faint, little murmurs behind fans, soft laughter echoing through banquet halls. But rumors are like blood in water, and Rome is full of sharks. Senators huddle in shaded porticos, robes rustling like restless birds, their voices low, urgent. Have you heard? The Empress. The Empress has a taste for more than power. Servants, quick-eyed and quicker-tongued, trade secrets for coins. A guard swears he saw a figure vanish behind velvet drapes, a figure not the Emperor's. Another claims he overheard laughter, soft and dangerous, from chambers where no laughter should live. You can almost hear it now, the hushed tones curling through the marble halls, carrying names of poets, actors, men who belong in theatres, not imperial beds. And Messalina, she moves among them like a phantom, untouchable, intoxicating, unafraid. Her steps barely disturb the mosaics underfoot, but every step cracks the ground beneath Claudius's throne. Before we go deeper, tell me in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is right now. At night, the palace becomes a theatre. Curtains billow like ghosts. Oil lamps flicker against painted ceilings. Somewhere a lyre hums a low, forbidden tune, and behind those curtains, soft giggles, the rustle of silk, the metallic whisper of a dropped clasp. The guards know, oh yes, they know. They turn their faces, stare hard at this marble as if stone could save them from truth, because in Rome, truth is a blade, and blades draw blood. If this part unsettles you, hit like and share your thoughts below, because the next twist is worse than you imagine. But here's the danger. Messalina isn't just reckless, she's deliberate. Every scandal is not chaos, it's a message, a challenge. Catch me if you can. Psychologists today might call it the thrill of transgression, the hunger for control disguised as pleasure. But in her mind, perhaps it was more than hunger. Perhaps it was survival, because in an empire ruled by men, a woman's body was often her only sword. Yet this sword cuts deep. One night a senator lingers after a feast, his hands stained with wine, his mouth dripping with audacity. He jokes of loyalty, of virtue, words sweetened with venom, and Messalina laughs, low, dangerous, like the hiss of a viper just before it strikes. He does not return the next night, or the one after. Was it fear that kept him away, or something far colder? Rome will never know, but the whispers grow sharper. Claudius, the emperor, hears them last. Isn't that always the way? The man who trusts most is always blindest. His counselors hesitate, their tongues heavy with dread. To accuse an empress is to gamble with your life, so they speak in riddles. They say, "My lord, marble can crack from within." They say, "A garden choked with too many vines will strangle the tree." But Claudius waves them away, his stammer breaking under the weight of forced cheer. He believes her still, believes in the illusion of devotion she crafted so perfectly. Don't forget to subscribe for more untold stories like this, because the darkest page is about to turn. Meanwhile, Messalina spins her web tighter. Actors slip through servant passages. Dancers vanish into curtained rooms. Her hunger is not just for pleasure, it's for proof that she can do what no other dares, that Rome itself bends to her will. She hosts feasts that outshine the sun. Jewels glitter like captured stars. Platters grown with peacocks stuffed with spices from lands Claudius has only read about. Wine flows like rivers, red as blood, sweet as sin. And when the cups are drained, when the music swells, the real feast begins. Some say these nights ended in laughter. Others say screams. None can agree, but all agree on this. Rome had never seen an empress so fearless, so brazen, so doomed. Because every whisper was a spark, and sparks, when left to dance long enough, will always find a way to ignite the fire. If you think this is the height of her audacity, hold on, because the next scandal will make this look like innocence. And yet, a question lingers like incense in the midnight air. Did Claudius truly not know? Or did he know and choose silence, hoping devotion could tame a storm? Maybe he believed that love could outshout whispers, that vows could drown rumors, but history does not favor dreamers. One evening, as the moonlight spills silver across the marble floors, Claudius passes a hall where curtains stir though no wind moves. He pauses, listening. A sound, a laugh, low and intimate. His brow furrows, his hand trembles against the cool stone. He tells himself it is nothing. He tells himself she is faithful. He tells himself what every betrayed heart tells itself, because the truth would destroy him. And somewhere, in a chamber perfumed with roses and risk, Messalina smiles. She has no fear. Why should she? She believes she is untouchable. She believes she can walk on the edge of ruin and never fall. But the edge is crumbling, because the whispers no longer belong to shadows. They are crawling into daylight. Senators carry them into the forum. Merchants hum them in marketplaces. Even the lowest slaves know the Empress is not Rome's jewel. She is its scandal. And scandals, in this city of daggers, do not die quietly. The question isn't whether Claudius will hear the truth. The question is, when he does, what will Rome burn first, her reputation or her life? You heard the blade being sharpened in the shadows, but before steel could taste blood, Rome witnessed something far darker. What would drive an empress to turn her body into a battlefield, pleasure, pride, or the hunger to humiliate an empire? The city of marble has seen everything, or so it thought, but tonight, Rome will learn there are depths even its shadows fear. The rumor begins like a spark, drifting from chamber to chamber. A challenge, so obscene it feels like a jest. Messalina will compete against Scylla, the courtesan of courtesans, the woman whose name men whisper like a prayer and a curse. A contest, of flesh, of endurance, of shame. The stakes, glory, dominance, and a prize no coin can measure, the surrender of Rome's breath itself. Before we go deeper, tell me in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is right now. The palace is transformed. Drapes of Tyrian purple ripple like bloodied water. Lamps burn low, casting trembling halos across marble floors slick with spilled wine. The air is thick, spiced with cinnamon, heavy with sweat, trembling with expectation. Senators gather, their dignity fraying like worn parchment. They pretend outrage, but their eyes gleam with hunger for scandal. Slaves move silently, eyes downcast, yet their lips curl with secret amusement. Even the wives of Rome's most honored men are here, faces pale as death masks, hearts pounding behind jeweled veils. Whispers coil through the hall. She wouldn't. She couldn't. But then, the doors part, and she steps in. Messalina. If this part unsettles you, hit like and share your thoughts below, because the next twist is worse than you imagine. She moves like a lioness loosed in a garden of lambs. Her robe glitters, droplets of gold against silk as black as midnight sins. Her eyes, calm, amused, drink in the crowd as if they were wine. Behind her, Scylla follows, her beauty satard. Harp enough to wound, lips painted the colour of pomegranate seeds. A herald's voice breaks the tension, trembling yet loud enough to pierce the murmurs. By decree of none, in honour of no god, a contest begins. Let lust choose its queen. Gasps, laughter. A senator chokes on his wine. Somewhere a woman faints, whether from shock or shame none can tell. And so it begins. The rules? Simple. Whoever takes more men wins, not for love, not for coin, for dominance, for the glory of flesh unchained by fear or faith. The chamber becomes an arena, cushions spill like entrails across the floor, bowls of figs and honeyed dates are overturned by trembling hands. The smell of wine clings to the air, sweet and cloying, masking the salt of sweat and something darker, the scent of power laid bare. Don't forget to subscribe for more untold stories like this, because the shadows of this night will haunt Rome forever. You want to look away? You want to believe this is rumour spun by jealous tongues. But history, cruel, unblinking history, records it still. Juvenal writes of it with venom, Tacitus with horror, and the poets could only whisper. 24 men, that was the wager. 24 soldiers of desire paraded like sacrificial beasts before two predators cloaked in silk and pride. The first enters, and laughter spills like wine. The second, and the hall ripples with murmurs. By the 10th, the crowd no longer gasps. They cheer. Wives avert their eyes, fingers digging crescents into their palms. Senators smirk, their shame drowned in goblets of Falernian. Slaves, Oh, the slaves watch with wide, gleaming eyes, for tonight the chains of class seem to vanish in this orgy of ruin. Halfway through, Scylla falters. Her breath comes ragged, her body trembling like a reed in the storm. But Messalina, she smiles, calm, relentless, a goddess of excess enthroned on her own audacity. "Jay, more," she commands, voice low yet slicing through the din. A ripple of disbelief courses through the chamber. More, always more. By dawn, Scylla lies broken, a wilted rose drowning in wine-stained sheets, and Messalina rises like the morning sun over a field of corpses, victorious, unbowed, her triumph carved not in marble but in flesh. The final count, 25 men. Juvenal writes that she laughed as she asked for more, that even exhaustion could not chain her hunger. True or myth, who can say? But the whispers, they never stopped. If this shocks you, share your thoughts below, because the storm this ignited will devour everything. What does this mean? Was it lust alone that drove her? No. Lust was the mask. Power was the face beneath. For every senator clutching his dignity tonight, she has sent a message: I rule where your laws cannot reach. But there is irony here, poisoned and perfect. For while she believed herself untouchable, the very walls she mocked were closing in. Because outside this chamber of shame, Rome shivers. Messalina's name spreads like wildfire. Through markets, through baths, through every alley where rumor is king. The Empress who turned her body into a weapon. The woman who could outlast Scylla and outstrip decency itself. And Claudius? Far away, the Emperor dines in quiet halls, his stammer soft against the clatter of plates. He knows nothing of this night, nothing of the laughter echoing like a curse through his palace. But tomorrow someone will tell him. And when he hears, what will break first, his heart, his throne, or her neck? The dawn comes pale and thin, a sickly light crawling over the ruins of revelry. Slaves scrub the floors, their rags drinking the wine and sweat that dripped like blood hours before. The cushions lie deflated, stained, their silks torn like virginity itself. Messalina sleeps, a faint smile curving her lips as if dreaming of another conquest. Scylla, silent now, vanished like a shadow at sunrise. And outside. Rome stirs, jaws wet with gossip, eyes gleaming with anticipation. For in this city, nothing stays hidden, and some scandals do not just burn, they consume. The chamber still reeks of wine and sweat, but the whispers move faster than the dawn, and at the center of it all, her. What burns inside someone who already owns the world? What hunger drives her to tear through the chains of custom and shame? You think you know Messalina because you've seen her body, painted across history as lust incarnate, but that's the lie Rome told. Her story is darker, sharper. It isn't just about flesh, it's about dominion, about bending an empire to her will, one gasp, one shudder, one broken law at a time. Before we go deeper, tell me in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is right now. The marble corridors are silent now, save for the scurry of sandals and the faint hiss of gossip. But inside Messalina's mind, it's louder than a battlefield. Every glance from a senator's wife, every whispered prayer from a priest, every rule carved in the stone of Roman virtue, she crushes them like figs between her fingers. Because here's the truth. Power in Rome was a man's game. Men wrote the laws, men commanded the legions, men decided who lived and who rotted on a cross. But Messalina, she found a new battlefield, one no legion could march upon. Flesh, desire, the craving no law can leash. If this part unsettles you, hit like and share your thoughts below, because what comes next will make you question everything you know about loyalty and love. Tonight's contest wasn't an accident. It wasn't a whim born of wine. It was strategy, poison sweetened with honey. Every act, every gasp was a message carved in the dark. I am not yours to own. You are mine. Historians call her depraved. Poets call her a storm of sin. But stop. Look closer. In a world where women were bartered like cattle, where a whisper of disobedience could mean a blade at the throat, Messalina carved her empire with silk and sweat, and yes, blood, always blood. Imagine her now reclining on those crimson cushions after the 25th man has fallen like a soldier spent in battle. Her skin gleams like wet marble, her pulse still races, but her eyes, cold, calculating. She doesn't see faces, she sees pawns. Don't forget to subscribe for more untold stories like this, because the shadows we're about to enter are darker than anything before. You might ask, why? Why this endless hunger? Was it lust alone? No, lust was the mask. Beneath it pulsed something far more dangerous. Control. Every senator's gasp tonight was a dagger driven into Rome's heart. Every slave's smirk was a crack in the facade of its virtue. She reveled in that power, not because she wanted to belong, but because she wanted to rule in a way no woman had dared. When you live in a cage of gold, you learn to turn the bars into weapons. That was her genius, and her damnation. If this unsettles you, drop a comment, because the next twist will make even this look tame. But here's where it turns darker. Rome was watching. The whispers carried like wildfire through the Subura, into the marble halls of senators, into the ears of men who worshipped order more than gods themselves. And in those whispers was fear, not just of a woman's scandal, but of her freedom. Claudius, the emperor, still knew nothing. Far away he dined on olives and silence, a man wrapped in his own insecurities, stammering, hesitant, unaware that the woman lying in his bed was building an empire of flesh in his name. But the court knew, the praetorians knew, and whispers hardened into blades. Inside her private chamber, as dawn crawled across the Palatine, Messalina rose. The silk fell from her like a shed skin, pooling at her feet in a river of purple and gold. Her reflection stared back from polished bronze, a face both divine and damned. Did she feel shame? No. Shame was a chain she'd melted long ago. What she felt was heat, not of lust, but of victory. Her lips curled, soft and cruel, as she whispered to herself, "They will talk, let them choke on my name." She was elegance. She was ruin. Rome had never feared a woman like this, not because she broke laws, but because she rewrote them. Her conquests weren't lovers, they were trophies. Proof that the body Rome tried to control was now the throne upon which it knelt. But hunger is a serpent. Feed it once and it coils tighter. By the next moon her games grew darker, nights blurred into orgies veiled in incense smoke where senators and slaves mingled like shadows and nothing was sacred, not marriage, not loyalty, not Rome's soul. Yet every act carved her fate deeper in stone, because beyond those veils knives were being sharpened, not in bedrooms but in council chambers. If you're still watching, hit like, because the blade of betrayal is about to fall and it won't miss its mark. Here is the cruelest irony. Messalina thought herself untouchable because she held men by the throat of desire. But power bought with flesh is brittle. It melts when fear sweats through the skin, and fear was rising. The Senate seethed. The praetorians whispered. Even those who once adored her now prayed for her ruin. Because what do men do when a woman plays their game and wins? They burn the board. Still she danced on. Still she smiled that serpent's smile, never sensing the coils tightening. Or perhaps she did, and didn't care. Maybe that was the truest hunger of all. Not survival, but oblivion dressed in jewels. The last feast is near. The tables will groan with grapes and peacocks glazed in gold, goblets brimming with Falernian wine. Laughter will ring like silver bells, and Messalina will sit crowned in pearls, believing the game's still hers. But you and I, we know better, because even now, in some cold corner of the palace, a man-shah pens his blade and whispers her name like a curse. The chamber doors close, sealing the whispers behind velvet. But power does not sleep, and neither does hunger. What price would you pay to hold an empire in your hands? Would you wager your body, your blood, your soul? The air in Rome feels heavier now, thick with rumors and perfumed lies. Messalina walks through it like a flame through oil. Heads bow, but eyes follow. She senses them, those stares sliding over her skin like knives, but she doesn't flinch, not yet. You know why? Because she's already chosen her weapon, and it isn't steel. It's love, or something wearing its mask. Before we go deeper, tell me in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is right now. They call him Gaius Silius, the most beautiful man in Rome, with a jaw carved like marble and eyes that hold storms. He is a senator, young, ambitious, and mad enough to want her. No, not want, claim. He looks at Messalina not like she's Claudius's wife, not like she's untouchable, but like she's already his. And that right there is the beginning of the end. If this part unsettles you, hit like and share your thoughts below, because this isn't a love story. It's a declaration of war. It starts quietly, like a prayer whispered in the dark. A glance across the forum, a brush of fingers beneath silk-draped tables, but soon secrecy rots into boldness. They meet in gardens under the moon, the scent of night-blooming jasmine heavy in the air, masking the stench of treason. You can almost hear the cicadas screaming in the distance, their song a warning, but neither of them listens. Why? Because desire has teeth, and it bites deep. Messalina isn't chasing lust anymore. Not here, not with him. This is something sharper. Every kiss with Silius feels like ripping a page from Rome's laws and burning it to ash. Every time she whispers his name, it's a blade against Claudius's throat. She tells him things in those dark hours, things no one else knows, about her hunger for more than flesh, about her dream of an empire ruled not by dull men in dusty togas, but by fire, by audacity, by them, together. Don't forget to subscribe for more untold stories like this, because what they plan next will make history bleed. And then the plan takes shape. It's madness, of course, but madness wears a crown in this city. Here's the truth. Claudius is weak, hesitant. The Senate barely respects him. The praetorians obey for gold, not love. Rome needs strength, and in their eyes, why shouldn't that strength be theirs? Messalina and Silius whisper in the shadows, their voices like coiling smoke. We will be the fire Rome fears. The first step, remove Claudius, quietly, bloodlessly if possible. They talk of forging alliances, of buying loyalty like fine wine. They speak of a wedding, a real one, sacred and binding, as if the gods themselves would bless this treason. Imagine it, a wife marrying her lover while her emperor still breathes. Unthinkable? Yes, but in Messalina's world, unthinkable is just another word for inevitable. If this makes your heart race, drop a comment, because you're about to see the moment ambition crosses the point of no return. Picture it. A lavish villa on the Esquiline Hill, where walls glitter with mosaics and the air trembles with music. There, behind doors sealed against the night, Messalina and Silius exchange vows. Real vows. The kind meant for eternity. Guests laugh and drink, the floor slick with spilled Falernian wine. And in the flicker of torchlight, two traitors smile, believing they've just crowned themselves king and queen of Rome. But outside, Rome itself shudders, because in this city, secrets travel faster than shadows. They think they're invisible. They think love, or what they call love, makes them gods. But gods fall too, and the higher they climb, the harder the ground will break them. Messalina watches Silius that night, her fingers trailing the rim of a golden cup. He looks magnificent, draped in crimson, a laurel glinting in his dark hair. She wonders, not aloud, if this is victory or the edge of a blade, but ambition blinds her. It blinds them both. If this unsettles you, share your thoughts below, because the next breath they take could be their last. By dawn, the whispers have reached ears that matter. A freedman named Narcissus, Claudius's secretary, hears it first. He freezes. Disbelief curdles into rage, then fear. He knows what this means, not just betrayal, but treason writ large across Rome's skies. And if Claudius falls, so does he. So Narcissus runs, not to the Senate, not to the mob, but to Claudius himself, the emperor still stumbling through the fog of ignorance. He finds him in Ostia, overseeing repairs on a harbour, far from the rot festering in his palace. And there, beneath the glare of an unforgiving sun, Narcissus tells him everything, every kiss, every vow, every night soaked in forbidden fire. Claudius stares, mouth slack, eyes wide. The emperor of Rome, cuckolded and mocked, the shame burns hotter than any flame, and with that the blade begins to fall. But Messalina doesn't know, not yet. She's still in her web of silks and schemes, laughing with Silius, planning the next move. Maybe she even dreams of the purple cloak slipping from Claudius's shoulders onto theirs. Maybe she believes Rome will bend, like all the others. But Rome does not bend, Rome breaks, and it breaks those who try to own it. The Praetorians are moving now. Orders ride on galloping hooves, slicing through the morning mist. In the barracks, swords are sharpened. In the palace, eyes harden. And in that villa on the hill, the music dies. The music still lingers in the halls, but the night has teeth, and now it's about to bite. What would you risk for a crown? A throne? Everything? Or would you gamble Rome itself on the kiss of a lover? Messalina is no longer just a wife, no longer the shadow behind the emperor's throne. Tonight, she is something far more dangerous. She is a queen in her own mind, and soon in the eyes of the gods. Before we go deeper, tell me in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is right now. Picture this, torches flickering against marble walls, the scent of crushed rose petals heavy in the warm Roman night. A villa draped in silks and secrets. Musicians pluck at lyres, their notes trembling like a warning the guests cannot hear or refuse to. Gaius Silius stands waiting, his tunic dyed in imperial crimson, a laurel crown gleaming under the torchlight. He looks like a man born for power. He feels it burning in his chest. His eyes, dark and fevered, search for her. And then, she comes. Messalina, draped in gold so bright it blinds the truth. She moves like fire, like a promise too costly to keep. When she smiles, even the gods might look away. And tonight, before these walls, she speaks vows that do not belong to her. She speaks them while her husband, Rome's emperor, still breathes. If this moment stuns you, share your thoughts below, because history has never been bloodier than this. The priest's voice trembles as he calls upon Jupiter to bless this union. His hands shake when he binds theirs with the wedding cord. He knows this is no marriage. This is treason dressed in roses and honeyed wine. Messalina does not flinch, not once. Her grip on Silius's hand is iron. This is not passion. This is a plan, a coup carved into flesh. Claudius is far, Silius whispers against her ear. And when he returns, he doesn't finish the sentence. He doesn't have to. She hears it in his breath, feels it in his kiss. When he returns, he will find nothing left to rule. Don't forget to subscribe for more untold stories like this, because the next scene will make your pulse race faster than any battlefield. The wedding feast begins. Gold cups overflow with Falernian wine. Laughter cracks like thunder, echoing against mosaic walls. Guests, carefully chosen allies, raise their goblets high. Some drink deep, others only pretend, because even in this room of conspirators, fear hangs like a blade above their necks. You can almost taste the dread, bitter beneath the sweetness of honeyed figs and roasted peacock. Somewhere beyond these doors, Rome still sleeps. But when it wakes, what then? If this unsettles you, hit like and tell me why, because the silence before the storm is the most dangerous sound of all. For now, they dance, they whisper, they dare to dream. Messalina leans into Silius, her cheek grazing his. Her voice is low, meant for him alone. We have the Senate, we have the Praetorians, enough to break the chains. He nods, though deep inside, doubt gnaws like a rat in the dark. Chains are not so easily broken, not in Rome. Not when every servant carries two faces, one for you, one for your enemy. And tonight those faces are already turning, because here's the truth. Rome has ears, always. The whispers slip from the villa like smoke through cracks. A freedman hears, then another. And then Narcissus, Claudius's secretary, his shadow, his viper. When word reaches him, his blood runs cold. He sees it clear. If Claudius falls, Narcissus falls too. And in Rome, a fall means your head rolling down the steps of the Capitoline Hill. So he runs, not with panic, but with purpose. Not to the Senate, not to the mob, straight to Claudius. And where is the Emperor? Far from this storm in Ostia, overseeing harbour repairs, blissfully ignorant. His mind on ships, not shadows. His hands ink-stained from plans, not blood. When Narcissus arrives, panting, dust on his tunic, Claudius looks up with mild surprise. "What is it?" he asks. And then Narcissus speaks the words that shatter the Emperor's world. "Your wife is married to another." If this twist just turned your stomach, share your thoughts, because history is stranger, crueler, and sharper than any fiction. Claudius stares, lips parted, the breath snagging in his throat. Married? While he lives? It sounds like madness, a drunken rumour. But Narcissus does not blink. He lays it bare. The feast, the vows, the plan to seize his throne. Claudius grips the arm of his chair. His knuckles whiten. Shame burns hotter than fury. The Emperor of Rome cuckolded, mocked, played for a fool. In that moment, humiliation becomes hate. Orders snap like dry twigs. "Bring me the guard, now!" Back in the villa, Messalina does not know. She is still laughing, still playing queen. Perhaps she even believes the gods are smiling upon her. But outside, in the streets, boots strike the stones. Shields gleam. The Praetorians are moving, and they do not move for her. If this makes your pulse quicken, comment below, because what comes next will stain Rome in fear. Word spreads faster than fire. Some guests slip away into the night, their loyalty evaporating with the last notes of music. Others cling to Silius, hissing questions. What now? What do we do? He tries to stand tall, voice steady. We face it, together. But even as he says it, his heart pounds like a drum of war. He knows what Rome does to traitors, and he can feel its teeth closing in. Messalina watches him. For a flicker, doubt touches her eyes. A thought, so sharp, so sudden it steals her breath. What if we've gone too far? But ambition drowns it. She smiles, tilts her chin high. Queens do not tremble. Queens do not bleed. The night shatters with the sound of fists on doors. Torches blaze in the courtyard, casting monstrous shadows on marble walls. The Praetorian Guard has arrived. Their helmets glint like hungry eyes. Their swords whisper promises of death. Messalina freezes. For the first time, fear coils in her gut like a serpent awakening. She grips Silius's arm, nails biting his skin. He looks back at her, his face pale, jaw tight. And in that silence, thick, suffocating, you can hear everything they never said. What do you do when the empire you once ruled becomes the cage that seals your doom? The news breaks like a thunderclap across the marble halls of Rome. Messalina has betrayed the emperor, not in whispers, not in shadows. In broad daylight, in sacred vows, she crowned another man as her husband. And Claudius, slow, gentle Claudius, finally awakens from the fog of complacency. For years he trusted her, for years he turned away from rumors, but not today. Today the mask is gone, and so is mercy. The Senate stirs like a nest of vipers. Behind the closed doors of the Curia, voices hiss. This is treason. This is war. No senator dares defend her now. Those who shared her bed, her secrets, her schemes, they vanish like ghosts into the alleys of Rome. Her allies, once so bold, scatter before the storm they helped create. But the storm is coming for her. Imperial messengers ride like furies through the forum, their crimson cloaks whipping in the autumn wind. one phrase on every tongue. By command of Caesar, Valeria Messalina is to be seized. You can almost hear the hoofbeats pounding through the heart of the empire, echoing like war drums. Each strike of iron against stone is a death knell. And where is she now? Not in the bed of her new husband, not basking in triumph. No, Messalina runs. She flees through the imperial gardens, those sprawling acres of manicured perfection that once symbolized her dominion. Cypress trees line the marble paths like soldiers, their shadows falling long and dark in the fading sun. The scent of crushed roses lingers in the air, sweet and suffocating, like perfume spilled at a funeral. Imagine her bare feet brushing the cold gravel. Her silken stola, once a garment of luxury, now clings to her in tatters, dirt-streaked, heavy with dew. Behind her, the bronze door. S of the palace groans shut with a sound that could almost be laughter. Everywhere she looks, she sees ghosts. The banquet halls where she reigned as Rome's seductress queen, the fountains where lovers' whispers mingled with the murmur of water, the colonnades that hid conspiracies sweeter than wine. Now these gardens are not a sanctuary, they are a graveyard waiting for its corpse. Messalina knows the law. Treason is not a wound Rome can bandage. Treason is rot. It must be burned away, even if it means torching the flesh that once shared Caesar's bed. But she still clings to one desperate hope. Claudius, the man who adored her, the man she humiliated, could he forgive her? One last time. She sends for him, not through words of command, those days are over, but through pleas. Bring me to Caesar, she begs the officer guarding her like a wolf with patient eyes. I will speak. I will explain. What does she plan to say? That it was love, that it was a mistake, that the wedding was only a game. No excuse can scrub away the stain of rebellion. In another corner of the city, Claudius sits silent at a banquet table, wine untouched. Before him, the senators pour venom like honey into his ears. She has mocked you before all of Rome. She plots your death, Claudius. She would have crowned another king. The emperor's hands tremble, not with rage, but with something colder. The realization that the woman who once warmed his nights has turned his empire into a stage for her audacity. And in that stillness, Claudius speaks one sentence that seals her fate. Let her die. You feel it, don't you? That shift in the air. It is the moment when hope exhales its last breath. Messalina does not know these words yet. She waits, crouched in a marble pavilion draped with ivy, the chill of the stone biting through her skin. She whispers to the shadows like a child to an absent Motti. He will come, he always comes. But Claudius does not come, only steel comes, only silence comes. As dusk bleeds across the horizon, a detachment of soldiers appears at the edge of the garden. Their helmets glint like shards of ice in the dying sun. You can almost hear the jangle of armor, the rasp of swords unsheathed. Death is not a scream. Death is the whisper of sand beneath marching feet. Messalina sees them and knows the game is over. But does she beg? Does she kneel? No. For a moment, just a flicker, she straightens her spine, the queen within her clawing for one last breath of dignity. And then she tries to charm them. Tell Caesar, she says, her voice a trembling reed in the wind. Tell him I love him still. But the men do not answer. They have heard every lie before. They are not here for words. They are here for silence. If this moment chills you, share your thoughts below, because history does not soften its blows. And don't forget to subscribe for more untold stories like this. Here is the bitter truth. Claudius will never see her again. The Senate has spoken. Rome demands blood. Not tomorrow, not at dawn, tonight. They give her a choice, though, a cruel courtesy of Roman tradition. Die by your own hand, the officer says, or die by ours. She takes the dagger. Its blade catches the last light of the day, and for a heartbeat it looks almost like salvation. Her fingers tremble, slick with sweat. She presses it against her breast, but the steel feels heavier than the empire she tried to rule. She cannot do it. Not now, not ever. Messalina, the woman who defied Rome itself, cannot pierce her own flesh, so the soldier does it for her. One thrust, quick, merciless, intimate. The sound is not a scream, but a gasp, a soft exhale as life spills like crimson silk into the grass. Her blood stains the roots of the roses she once adored. The petals drink it like wine, and so ends Valeria Messalina. Empress, seductress, traitor. Not with a coronation, not with a crown, but with a dagger in a garden where even flowers bow to death. But don't turn away yet, because the story does not die here. There is still the question of what comes next. Rome will not forget this scandal, nor will Claudius. What will he do with the men who once toasted her name? What price will those whispers in the Senate pay? Because here's the truth that haunts every throne. Power is never buried with the body. It lingers, like smoke after a fire, curling into the lungs of the living. If this unsettled you, drop a comment, because the next twist is darker than you imagine. And before we close, tell me, was she a monster or just a woman devoured by the empire she tried to command? But this was only the beginning of Rome's blood-soaked reckoning, and the next shadow to fall would be Claudius himself. The gardens are silent now. The woman who once ruled with a smile lies in the cold embrace of betrayal, but her story refuses to die. What do you remember of a woman when her breath has faded, but her name still stirs whispers like ghosts in marble halls? Rome remembered everything, or rather, Rome remembered what it chose to remember. Messalina's body was gone, but her shadow darker than night stretched across generations. Her name became a curse, a warning, a word sharpened by scandal. Poets etched her sins into verses that bled venom. Historians, draped in the smug robes of moral superiority, painted her as an empress of excess, a temptress without a soul. But pause. Ask yourself this. Was she truly the monster they claimed, or the victim of a world that worshipped power, then devoured those who dared to taste it? Imagine the streets of Rome weeks after her death, vendors shouting, chariots rattling on cobblestones, the smell of sweat and roasted meat hanging in the air. Somewhere, a senator whispers to another over a goblet of wine. She thought she could be queen. She thought she could wear the crown without chains.